What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Pod Scum. I am, of course, your host, your bastard of ceremonies, Reckless Rexx Ruger. That, of course, if you couldn't tell by them enormous chompers, is the Freddie Mercury puppet. This is where the cool kids come to chop it up with your boy, Rexx Ruger, the epitome of cool, a.k.a. Diamond David Lee Roth Jr., the son of glam, the front man for the band, adored by millions of fans, the peanut butter to your jam, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, Mr. Wop, Bop, Loo, Bop, Wop, Bam, Bam, Shazam, hot damn. Feeling good? Let me verify that I'm looking good. Yeah, never any doubt about that. And, of course, when I need a little bit of help, and it's rare. I mean, I'm blessed here. Rockstar genetics, the Roth genes coursing through the veins. But occasionally I need a little help, and this is my go-to. You can get yourself a can too, but it won't help you like this. My guest is here. We're getting down to it and chopping it up. I'm excited for this one. Love this dude, man. Can't wait to get in here and chop it up with him, man. We're off. Blast off again. Do we got him? Kevin.
Hey, how's that?
Just got to get your camera.
Okay.
There you go. Kevin, how's it going, man?
Okay, how are you doing?
Hey, great, man. It's great to have you back on here again, man. It's always a pleasure getting the chance to talk with you, man. First and foremost, man, I want to start out instantly by asking, and forgive me for not knowing this or having this in my notes, man, but how is your mom?
She's fine. She was just out for Thanksgiving and had a great time hanging out and enjoying the festivities. Yeah, she's doing good.
I had a spell, and I don't know, I'll share the story with you. I had a spell where I don't know what I was thinking, man. But again, this is the power music has over you. It sweeps you away, man. I was so into Mother Love Bone at one point in time, and I have no writing experience other than just fancying myself an aspiring writer like we all do. And I've been writing my whole life, never anything to the point of being published, man. But I remember having several phone conversations with her and just being so adamant that, and I don't even know if I was even up for this task, but how I felt there should be a book on Andy.
Yeah,
I guess I thought that I could write it and kind of like lean on her for information. But ultimately, I'm glad the way it worked out because the documentary was great.
Yeah, and there's more of that coming. As time goes by, the perspective changes and the clarity comes with other, with revelations on things past. And I think at some point the story will be told in a fresh way again, and I think that it's something that's going to continue over time to intrigue people, and we're going to want to know. And so, we're
Are you alluding to the fact that maybe you yourself might write a book? I mean, obviously, man, you share blood with Andy, man. You're his brother, and you made the bond of creating music together. Just for conversation's sake, is there a book in Kevin?
No, actually, I've been working with some producers to try to get a documentary made.
A film?
A film, yeah.
An actual realized film, or with somebody playing Andy? Or are you talking like a theatrical type thing or a documentary?
Well, both, actually, yeah.
Okay.
So the documentary, I believe, would be the first step. And I've been talking to some people over the last few years about that. A fresh documentary that focuses on another aspect of the entire story. And then, of course, with that comes further renewance of the interest. And so the talk always goes to the feature film that will come next.
That's big.
Yeah,
that's very big. And so for fans that might want to know, and I got so much stuff I want to dig in and talk to you about, but I'll get it off the top right now, man. What is currently going on with Malfunksshun? Just in case we have a conversation and I forget to promote at the end. What are you currently doing with Malfunksshun?
Well, I've got some songs that I've been working on for a new release. The band, as it was maybe 5 years ago, doesn't really exist so much as it was. There's really nothing going on as far as gigs. I'm starting to play with some other people and writing new music, and there has been talk of a gig coming up that would correspond with some documentary work that we've been doing. So it still is what it is, but there's
Yeah.
not a lot of action right now. You know, I'm constantly working on music and doing things in that regard, and I've got a new EP that's just about ready that will be labeled with Malfunction. You'll find it on the Malfunction Bandcamp, and then
Okay.
the the streaming.
And not that anybody can fill Andy's shoes, but I have said this before, man, and I'm not ashamed to say it on here, man. That there are so many other members from other Love Bones surviving that it would be nice. Everybody takes on side projects. It would be nice if Stone and Jeff and you and the other guys are around. Greg Gilmore, Bruce.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be cool. That'd be cool. I don't know that anybody can step up and do the frontman role as good as Andy, man. But you do see bands do it, like you see Pantera doing it right now. The Abbott brothers are not part of it, but they've got Zach Wilde, they've got Charlie from Anthrax, they've got guys filling in so people can still get the experience that didn't get to experience it the first time around when it happened. I mean, I was never fortunate enough to see Mother Love Bone. I mean, right when that scene was starting, it was 1990, 91 when we lost Andy, correct? So very early on in the grunge scene.
Right. Yeah, I don't even think it was a real grunge scene, really.
No.
I mean, Mother Love Bone was more, were trying to be like Guns N' Roses or some of the other like rock bands that were coming out that were sort of shying away from the hair metal kind of thing,
Yeah.
And so I don't know how the grunge moniker got applied to them, but it is what it is. And you can't argue with the fact that people love it and they want to hear more of it and they're interested.
Yeah. And Andy kind of went against typecast anyway, though, because, he was very gregarious and very outgoing and outlandish, where, like, the rest of those guys were, for a while there was all angst and dark lyrics and flannel. And, like, and none of that was really Andy.
Yeah, Andy definitely was not part of that kind of a thing. He was he was more like a David Lee Roth kind of guy.
Yeah.
He copped a lot of ideas from that guy from the Cult, Ian. Yeah, and he was definitely a chameleon in a lot of ways. I think as far as I'm concerned, the true Andy that was recorded was the Malfunction Andy, because that was him truly being himself in a very original way.
Right.
When he went with Mother Love Bone, it was sort of a contrived
polished it more. Yeah.
Not to say it was bad, because it was good. They were a great band and he did a great job with it, but it was still sort of, when I would hear it or still hear it, I go, yeah, well, he's kind of trying to be like Ian. Or
you think he dialed it back a little bit because they were getting a shot at like a major label?
Oh yeah, he was definitely wanting that and conforming as well as he could to the particular styles of the day, as that whole band was. I mean, they were all about Guns N' Roses, and Aerosmith was coming back into the fray.
Yeah,
they were a rock band, and they were like, they're called grunge, but really they were from an era when grunge was kind of getting its name.
Yeah.
They were not a grunge band.
No, I agree too. And when you made music with Andy, I'm curious, man, if you can go back in the annals of time here and kind of tell me what it was like creating music with Andy, because Andy seems like such a creative person. And in that documentary, I thought it was really poignant when Chris Cornell said when they lived together, they would both create and show each other songs they made. And I remember Cornell specifically saying he used to overanalyze and overthink and question himself. And Andy would just kind of charge through the process and be very free with his creativity. What was it like creating music with him?
Well, it was a lot of fun. I mean, being brothers, we were on the same page on a lot of things. We both liked the same kind of music, and I think our vision for being unique was shared, and that we shied away from trendy things that were coming down the pike. And so I think the way that it evolved was due to that. But also it was a lot of fun because Andy would come up with great songs, great bass lines and lyrics and stuff. And then it would give me the platform to ride on top of it. And then when I would come up with some stuff, it was the same kind of thing. He would just add his bass and come up with some lyrics and some melodies to sing over the top of my stuff.
Yeah.
So it was definitely a team effort.
Well, I recently, a couple of weeks ago, had Tony West on from Blacklist Union. And man, I mean, I can send you the clip after we're done here of our interview, man. Glowing terms about the influence that Andy had on him. It was a big part of our interview and a big part of our conversation, man. The accolades and the praise that he gave to Andy. So that speaks volumes. You know, people, you know, he made an impact in the time he was here on people.
Yeah, definitely. And Tony definitely had the singing range that was like, you know, as far as the singers that have come and gone through Malfunction, he was the closest to the real thing.
Yeah.
You know, in that regard. And I think that's probably where, you know, a lot of the interest in post-Andy Malfunction kind of falls off, because they want to hear that sound that Andy made in Mother Love Bone, you know?
Right.
And yeah, you can't deny the fact it was, you know, it's definitely something that people want to hear and they like it and it's cool. So
what about like, but like, what about like, because you are a musician, and I don't know, I'm sure as an artist, this maybe or maybe not has crossed your mind. What about like any type of a project with reworkings of some of the Mother Love Bone songs, man? Because I mean, I think there are a couple that people know. Obviously, Chloe and Crown of Thorns made it on the single soundtrack. It got kind of big or whatever. But when you really dive deep in the small amount of work that Mother Love Bone had, you know, their deep cuts even are amazing, amazing songs. I mean, it'd be nice to see somebody come along and do like a reworking of some of those, you know?
Actually,
Lady Godiva Blues. I got some of Mindshaker Meltdown, Heartshine, some of the ones you don't hear a lot, you know?
Yeah, you know, I was doing a bunch of Mother Love Bone songs in the set when we were gigging more, you know, in the Mother.
Good.
And did a remake of Man of Golden Words. It's on the Monument album.
Okay.
And that's Sean Smith sings it, and Sean really did a stellar job in recreating some of the Malfunction material that and the Mother Love Bone material. I mean, he had this soulful way of singing that was really beautiful and really gave it more dimension, you know.
Yeah.
Because Sean was Sean, right? And you can't knock it. So I did a redo of Man of Golden Words with sort of an orchestrated bridge and you know, some other parts that kind of made sense. They were just inversions of the chords and you know, a relative minor against the majors and stuff like that.
Right.
Yeah, I'm all for it. Oh, I did a copy of God, what was it? Dream Come True. There's a song called Dream Come True. It's on the one of the albums on the Bandcamp. It's on the Her Eyes album, and which is a very rough production because it didn't really get very far. That's got Greg Gilmore on it playing drums.
Okay.
And then we redid a Mother Love Bone song, and Susie Cornell actually sings on it.
Susie, really?
Yeah, Chris's sister.
Yeah.
So that was a Malfunction release that I was sitting on for decade at least before it saw the light of day. I had to get the masters and ended up putting it out on Bandcamp. But you know, there's some pretty cool stuff on there. My brother Brian sings on some of it, and we revived some Malfunction material, and we did the Mother Love Bone thing too. So I mean, it's always on the back burner.
It's good. And it's good to make sure that new generations are constantly coming along and discovering his contribution to music. Because, you know, you look at a band like, you know, like the criteria to get in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is as a 25-year career. You know, I mean, Nirvana had a prolific period from 91 to 94, 3 years, and then it was over. Yet they were Rock and Roll Hall of Fame worthy. But, I mean, Mother Love Bone didn't have maybe in that same pocket of time, but equally as great as songs.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Equally, but nowhere near the amount of success.
Yeah, and that's not to impugn Kurt Cobain and Nirvana. Love them, brilliant. But I mean, Mother Love Bone songs hold up, man. They're amazing.
Oh yeah, they do, and they're solid. I mean, that was a good band. That was a really tight working unit. You know, they had something good going on there for sure.
Now I had a conversation the other day with somebody, and I'm wondering because you kind of grew up right in the thick of it there, man. But that whole Seattle scene, has it always been prevalent with talent, or did all of a sudden around 90 to 95 when grunge exploded, did the microscope just get put there, just by coincidence? Or has it always been great music there? I get the feeling it's probably always been talented, amazing people there, and suddenly the focus just was on it.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, there were a lot of really good bands during the heyday, and I mean, I started playing in Seattle when it was a punk, when the punk underground was starting to.
Well, that's almost what I would consider Malfunction.
Yeah, we were punk at the beginning there, and then we melded into something else, which became more influential to the bands that were coming up after us.
What would you consider Malfunction? What genre would they have been, man? If you could label them with a genre, because you said punk and then we turned into something else. What was it that you would consider Malfunction categorized as?
Hard to categorize it, I mean, people would call us the godfathers of grunge just because we were on the bottom floor of the whole thing, right? But and we did influence those other bands with our mid-tempo stuff, and our a lot of the way that we were like approaching music and the songwriting and stuff. But yeah, we were constantly evolving and moving forward as far as our style. Who knows? I mean, when I listen to the stuff that I write today, and I bring the name Malfunction to it, I mean, I made up the name, right? It was kind of my idea in the first place.
Cool spelling. Yeah, it's cool. It stands out. Yeah.
But I would still write the same kind of stuff that I've been writing.
Well, people might see the word funk in the middle. Maybe they might jump to conclusions and think they're going to get like Kool and the Gang or like Mandrill or something. But I mean, but you guys certainly were funky in your own way. I mean, Andy's doing his thing up there, man, and he's funky. The way he dresses, the way he comes off the man. So having an enigmatic frontman like that is a huge payoff.
Yeah, definitely. And we always liked funk, but it was just a matter of not really knowing how to play it. And because you have to never do that stuff to be good at it. And we're just rockers, And basically, we learned to play our instruments. We
on your own
got instruments, and we started the band.
Yeah,
and learned as we were, So it was like, okay, well, we like all kinds of music, and we like this and this and this, but no, we can't play it. And it took years of working at it to be able to master a certain technique. And so that, doing that, we just kind of evolved in the way that we naturally evolved with the influences that were around us and everything like that. And I mean, I think we probably tried to play some funk at some time. We had a saxophone guy come up on stage with us one time, and we
oh, that's cool.
Driving a funky beat.
Yeah, that's cool.
It was just like an improv kind of thing. So
Andy does seem like he'd be receptive, though, man. It would have been interesting. I mean, rest in peace, man. But if he were still here, man, it would be great just to see where you guys would have evolved and came to. You know what I mean? That would have been an interesting musical journey, I think. I think Andy would be someone you'd look back on his career and say, wow, he made some interesting choices,
Yeah. Oh, yeah, because it was always something that was going to be changing.
Yeah.
And evolving,
Yeah.
And so, and coming from, he's my brother, and we grew up together. We listened to, as a family, we listened to music a lot, and we loved all kinds of music. It's a big part of our lives, So all those influences all kind of show their face, as you go through the songs and the catalog, and then had it continued with Andy, who knows, it would have blossomed probably into something truly incredible.
And what's it like writing songs with them, man? Because I look at both of you guys as being so creatively prolific, man. Is it hard to get your voice heard when you're making music with Andy? I mean, he's such a larger-than-life personality. Was it collaborative when you guys worked together, 50-50, or?
Well, certain times it was, yeah. I mean, but he probably, with his writing of the lyrics, definitely he's better at writing lyrics than me.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't 50-50 in that regard. I mean, I would come up with the guitar parts to go over some of the songs that he wrote when he
Right.
was writing the songs, but it always ended up, I mean, I did write some lyrics for some of the earlier songs. I mean, probably more 50-50, but near the end of Andy's involvement in the band, it was more probably, I don't know. It wasn't 50-50. He did more because of the the writing and the
Right,
singing.
right. But it's just crazy to see all the bands that came out of Seattle, though, man. And it's just kind of like, what came first, the chicken or the egg? Was that talent always there, man? Or did suddenly society and pop culture just decide to drop the lens on Seattle, you know what I mean, for that period of time? Because it seemed like everywhere you went, 90 to 95, you know, every band that came from there could do no wrong.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it became, I think that, that it was a unique scene.
Yeah.
It's a unique area, it's unique. It's dark, it's cold, it's like close knit. It's not like down in LA where everyone's free, and people are just like running around and you got the nice weather and everything.
Yeah.
So you're in Seattle, these dingy clubs, sometimes in a basement or like a rented space or a taken over space that you're not supposed to be in, and people throwing shows, all underground. So it was very unique, I think, and it created a unique vibe and a unique sound.
Yeah.
And so the people who were in the bands, they started dressing in a way that people dress because of the weather, right?
Right.
And so,
cool. Yeah.
when the people started noticing, and I think there was some bands that were getting some recognition. I think Soundgarden, probably the first one, they were starting to get shopped to A&M, and that was the big word, And so then the A&R people, started taking a look at other situations in Seattle and going, hey, this is a unique spot here. Look at this.
Yeah.
This is different than anything else that's going on. Let's take a stab at putting out some of this stuff. And then it just took off.
Yeah.
And then before you know it, you have people from all over the country going to Seattle.
Yes.
And,
yeah.
That was
a hot spot.
Yeah. And then you had people in other cities and stuff emulating the sound, like Stone Temple Pilots.
Yeah.
I mean, you would have never known they were not a Seattle band.
You would have never known with your eyes closed that they weren't Pearl Jam.
I know. Well, or that Creed was kind of like that too. But
almost spot on. You couldn't tell the difference with your eyes closed if you were listening to Eddie Vedder or not.
Yeah, but that happens all the time. Through the history of rock and roll, it always. It
happened a lot through the 90s with vocals. Yeah, I remember a lot of bands really sounded very cookie cutter. Everybody was looking for that rich kind of voice, like a Mark Lanigan or an Eddie Vedder. You know what I mean? Like those really like dark, heavy. Bringing the heaviness to the. But still, I even think about, and this came up in the conversation the other day, I even think about some of the artists that I love from there that didn't even get as big as the main guys got. Like, I'm a huge Mark Lanigan guy. I love the Trees. I think they're brilliant, man. And it's a shame that Mark Lanigan isn't often mentioned with Andy and Kurt and Chris, in Lane, you know what I mean? But he's amazing. His audiobook is amazing. I've shouted it out on here a million times, man. Hopefully if sales go up of his book, I get some credit, man. But an amazing book, man. But still not a band that got huge.
Yeah, and that's just the way things go sometimes. I mean, I agree. He was one of the best. I mean, the deep depth of his voice and his lyrics, he was truly gifted.
I mean, the book is dark. The book is dark, though. He had some crosses to bear, though, for sure.
Yeah. Well, it kind of goes with the territory. For some reason, it's just part of the deal a lot of times,
Yeah. It's sad. So nowadays, man, I'm wondering, because the listening trends have changed so much, and when you're talking about making new music, man, what format makes the most sense now? People seem to be divided. Still putting out an LP, or does it feel more like an EP world or a singles world nowadays? Because people aren't fucking paying attention at all. It's sad.
It is.
Nobody drops the needle on an album no more and just listens to it all the way through.
I don't know. I can't give you an answer on that. I'm old school. I listen to albums, and I like to listen to them front to back. And I'm really, though, it really is cool that the vinyl thing is starting to take off. And we just had a really successful release with some old Malfunksshun material on Southern Lord. They put out a vinyl, a 2-disc set, and that went over really well. And
When you're
So
old school, nothing makes you happier than hearing 2-disc set.
yeah.
Wow, 2 discs, man. Yeah, I mean, I remember that was the shit that used to make you happy as hell. I mean, I'm 51 years old. I'm from an album era too. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, come on, man. You know, give me something meaty. I've been waiting for a while. You know?
Yeah, I mean, you think about all of those awesome records that you had when you were a kid, and
Yep.
how many of them you were with double albums. And I mean, God, I remember there were some triple albums there too. And remember like Stevie Wonder, Songs in the Key of Life, a double album with an included 45.
Yeah,
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah, right. Those were the kind of little nuggets that you used to get back in the day, man. So when did when in the history of your family and who did it happen with first? Kind of got discovered to be the the musical child, man. Like I think I remember some stuff in the documentary. Andy used to kind of be like the entertainer and want to but who really started to get real chops right away?
Well, that would be me because I was the oldest, and
Yeah,
I started playing violin when I was a kid, and then I was always gravitating towards the guitar. I got a guitar like a Montgomery Ward plastic guitar with
yeah,
a
starter.
battery powered amp.
Yeah,
My
got to
my
start
dad
somewhere.
yeah, my dad brought home an SG one time and plugged it into his home stereo, and he taught me a couple chords on it. And so I started doing it. Andy was always he was so funny and he's cute, he's like the baby of
Yeah,
the family,
yeah,
blonde hair, kind of short, and so he
yeah.
would play the role of the clown, and he was very entertaining in so many ways. I'm more reserved, more cerebral, I guess. But yeah, he definitely you know I mean, I never shied away from performing. I was in plays and stuff in school, and
Yeah.
the orchestra
Yeah.
and stuff like that, but definitely not like the front man kind of
Yeah. Well, that's
I
the
mean, I
important
could
aspect.
have
Andy seemed to have the front man part down. You know what I mean? The singing, yeah. But there is a difference, folks, out there, man, between a singer and a front man, man. Being a front man, I equate him every bit as like a David Lee Roth. I mean, you can put on a show and do some shit out on the stage that's visually captivating as well, and some level.
yeah. And then David Lee Roth, I think probably in his heyday, the ultimate front man.
Yeah. Say what you want, man, but the splits, the karate kicks, all the shit that Dave would do, the spinning the fucking microphone stand, the splits and popping back up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How in the hell did he do that? I mean, I
Yeah.
remember going to a Van Halen concert, Women and Children First tour. That's the first time I saw him.
Yeah.
And you could not understand a single thing. You didn't know what songs. The only way you could tell what song they were playing is by Michael Anthony's background vocals.
So it was
And
pretty bad. It was a bad experience.
well, no, it was awesome because David Lee Roth had the entire place in the palm of his hand. All he had
Yeah.
to do was stand up there and
Yeah.
mumble. I don't know what.
Yeah.
Of course, I
He
was
was pretty
on,
charismatic. I equate him. I equate Andy as like Seattle's version of Roth. You know what I mean? Like, I would equate him every bit as the kind of guy that would have like emerged, like, scarves on the microphone stand, doing cool shit up there. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Like
yeah,
always
yeah.
dressing funky,
Totally. That was Andy was all about that. He had the spandex,
Yeah. Yeah.
and he had the moves. He was definitely like a little David Lee Roth clone there for a little while.
What do you think the main ingredient is? Like when you sit down to write a great song, man, how does the process work for you individually? I know I talked about you and Andy creating music together, but if you were just going to pick up your guitar right now, you wanted to write lyrics, you wanted to write music or whatever, man, where does it start with you? Like a great song, like with a melody, with a line, with a title?
It's a riff. Got to come up with a riff, and so I pick up the guitar and something will kind of come out, and I'll go, oh wow, I better remember that. I'll throw it on the recorder. I'll fire up my my recording stuff here and put it down, and then
And when you write lyrics, man, do you sing them yourself, man? Are you somebody that feels like you're apt or capable at singing?
oh yeah, I can. In fact, I it's kind of funny when I was doing more Malfunksshun gigs, there were certain parts of the set where I would take the tag, right, and I would solo and then sing the chorus while I was soloing. And for me, for some reason, soloing while I'm singing works really well. I can just like
Yeah.
my hands know where to go,
Yeah.
and I'm just kind of singing. It's like a detached experience, but like it's so much easier for me to play solos and sing at the same time than it is to like play chords and sing, unless the chords are really easy, you know.
That's interesting. That's
Yeah, and then
interesting. Yeah, that
yeah.
is interesting. So I guess maybe fans would think then maybe have you ever thought of, wouldn't it be like a natural inclination for Malfunction to be fronted by you? I mean, you look so similar to Andy, man. You obviously can sing and play guitar, man. Have you ever thought of fronting the band, or do you like being the guitar player?
I do like being the guitar player, but I have fronted. I was in a band called Hippie Glitz with some other buddies, and we did some Malfunction and some Mother Love Bone covers.
Okay.
And I fronted that band and sang and played guitar. And where the guitar parts were too hard for me to play and sing at the same time, we had another guitar player who kind of filled in the holes.
Yeah.
And that was a lot of fun. I don't sound like Andy so much, but I did enjoy doing that, and I did manage to catch some frontman fever.
What do you think when you look at the Mother Love Bone catalog, man? I mean, I have a list of songs in front of me. I know the songs so much. Unfortunately, they don't have a huge discography. There's only what's out there, man, that we can get access to in the Mother Love Bone world, man. But did you have a favorite track or two from them?
Well, yeah, Shangri-La.
Yeah, that's a great song. Yeah.
And that Holy Roller is a great one. Mindshaker Meltdown. I love that song.
Great.
Yeah. There's probably another one I'm not thinking of right now. I
got a few of the deeper tracks here, man, that I would like to see covered. Like I love Gentle Groove.
Mm-hmm.
I like Hard Shine. I love Bone China. That's an amazing song. Yeah, I mean, like there's some. I mean, like there's some tracks that I would love to see, or even like a reworking, man. Like it's a shame that and every band got a lot of acclaim back in the 90s from your area that did MTV Unplugged. I would have loved to have seen a Mother Love Bone Unplugged. That would have been amazing.
That would have been amazing. And it would have happened. It would have happened.
Yeah. Hearing those songs stripped down and seeing what Andy how captivating he could be just sitting there like on a stool. You know what I mean? Like that would have been.
It would have been magic for sure.
Yeah. And so I don't know if we covered this already, man, but so going forward, what should fans expect? There will be more Malfunction music. There will be more Malfunction shows.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's just a matter of, getting the money right for the shows. Cause they're usually fly gigs where somebody will come up with the production budget to fly us out and,
right.
Do all that. And, jumping in a van is kind of out of the question. It's not going to happen. I mean, the local gigs here and there are good, but if the demand is there, the band will show up. And I've got a deep pool of bandmates, associates, and people who will put it together. I'll put it together, and maybe I will sing, maybe I won't. It all depends on how it all winds up.
I feel like the whole thing coming full circle would really be nice, man. That like if new music from Malfunction came out, a logical thing would seem to be get it in front of audiences and go out with a band like Pearl Jam. That would be a very natural fit. That'd be great.
Yeah, that would be a great thing. Actually, the Temple of the Dog, right? When they put together that and they went out, I brought it up to Chris and Stone because I'm in speaking terms with them. I said, hey, look, I've been playing some of these songs for years.
Right.
I'll show up on my own dime and put me on the bill with my band, with Malfunction.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like crickets. So, that's just not going to happen with Pearl Jam or,
I know.
I guess Pearl Jam's the only one left, right?
It's unfortunate. Well, I mean, there is an Alice in Chains, obviously, unfortunately not without Lane Staley band, but from what I hear, and I was very belligerent for years because I'm such a Lane devotee that I didn't want to give the new music its just due. But I have to admit, man, I've tried to be a little more receptive, and it is good.
Oh yeah, well, it is good, and it's uncanny actually.
Yeah.
That guitar player, what's his name, is falling off my.
Jerry Cantrell.
Jerry.
Amazing.
I
Amazing.
listened to his solo stuff, and it sounds just like Alice in Chains. I mean, I think he was the driving force. You know, Lane was awesome. He had that richness, that evolved singing
No
technique.
doubt, though. It's Jerry's band. You're right. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And it's Jerry's sound, too. So, yeah, all credos to that, you know, because, you know, well done. And reviving that thing and the career that guy's made for himself, I'm very, very impressed and happy for him.
And not to, you know, not to ask you to speak on his behalf. I don't know how many interviews he does or if I could run him down or not, man. But another bandmate that was part of the original lineup was Reagan Hagar. Whereabouts is he in any of this? Any interest in doing anything with Malfunction? What's he doing in the music world?
Well, I've talked to him recently in regards to this release that we had out on Southern Lord Records. And he is receptive to possibly playing a gig. And I think that would be absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
He played drums on the Monument album. And I think that's as close as you can come really to having the original Malfunction sound. Although, you know, Andy's bass playing was one of a kind as well as his singing. So that's kind of hard to replace, but with the drums and the guitar there, and we, you know, I think we did justice to some of the old Malfunction material that never got released really, actually, and put together some good stuff. So I'd love to play with him again, but you know, it's logistics. It's also, you know, he had a bit of a problem with reviving the Malfunction name because him and Andy were so close. It brought up a lot of pain for him, I think, and I can understand how he'd be reluctant to you know, get in there again.
Well, you were obviously, you know, one of the people closest to Andy, man. When he initially died, man, like where were you know, what was that time period like post Andy's death for you? I mean, like where did your emotion come out in? Did you withdraw? Was it creative for you, man? Like, I mean, you know, how did you, you know, kind of compartmentalize it?
Well, you know, when he was in Mother Love Bone and left Malfunction kind of high and dry. Yeah, that was, you know, that was like kind of unbelievable at the time. Didn't know what to do next. But I kept going, you know, I kept practicing, kept thinking something's going to come up, you know, something will open up. I'll have more opportunities. And sure enough, I think in 1991, I formed Fire Ants with Chad Channing and my other brother, Brian, and Dan McDonald. And we were on rotation on the end in Seattle. We were getting great gigs. We were packing clubs. And so I figured, hey, this is going to happen. And then I got another chance with DEVILHEAD too, with my Brian, some other guys. So I stayed in it, and I never stopped. It was devastating losing Andy, though, because he was not only my brother, but his you know, when you have talent like that, that you could always count on it. It was like, you know, something you can't replace very easily. Yeah, you know.
Yeah. Tough, I know. And like I said, I think the thing that probably you know, weighs the most heavy is playing devil's advocate and wondering, man, how far the music would have came. Where would he have ended up, man? I mean, was he destined to be, I believe, you know, to be a huge star? I mean, should he want to go that path? I think it was there for him.
Yeah. And I agree. And I think that the, you know, most people love Andy because of Mother Love Bone. But like I keep saying, is that his true persona, his true uniqueness shined in the Malfunction material. Yeah, and I think Mother Love Bone probably would have ended up being more about Andy if it would have survived, because talent behind that band. I mean, the other guys are good. They were good technicians. They could put down a good groove and a good.
I agree with you. Not to impugn the rest of the guys, man, but even in the lead up to Apple or the you know, the debut album, though, man, all the press going back and reviewing some of that stuff. The main focus was on Andy as the front man. That's not to disparage the other guys and their roles in the band or whatever, man. But he was already kind of breaking away and emerging as, you know, the guy.
Yeah. And you know, and that's lucky. They were lucky that they managed to get him to do that, and they were lucky. Stone and Jeff were lucky they found Eddie. You know, because it's the same thing. You have a dynamic front guy who's carrying the band basically, and
Yeah.
You can't go wrong, man. You just keep.
It's tough to catch lightning in a bottle, like that twice too. Because I mean, I remember seeing in post interviews immediately after Andy's death, and those in those ensuing months afterwards, those guys were really unsure whether they were even going to play music again. Like they thought that was their shot, and it was there and gone.
Yeah, I know. I mean, talk about the rug being pulled out from your feet. I mean,
yeah,
that's how I felt when Malfunction went on hiatus. Andy joined, those guys. Andy and Regan joined that band. All of a sudden, I'm sitting there going, "What the fuck?" And because I was thinking, we should get Stone and we should get Jeff in our band. And,
yeah, I was going to ask you that too, man. Like, why not just Andy seems, like I said before, so prolific on a creative level, man. Why not just have two bands and double his chances, man? Like, why couldn't Mother Love Bone and a Malfunction exist in the same world?
I don't know. It did for a little while. It did for a short while, but then he got really busy with it, and I mean, the guy still had to work, and
I mean, Bob Weir could be the Grateful Dead and fucking Fish. I mean, it can be done, man, with two big, huge bands.
Yeah, it can be. Yeah, but it's always 2020 is always hindsight.
I know. It's unfortunate. And you almost feel like you got to put your eggs in one basket and kind of, not spread yourself so thin and maybe have like more of a singular focus, man. But I think I think personally, you might disagree. I think he would have found his way back to Malfunction though, on some level, even if he didn't leave Mother Love Bone to do it. I feel like both projects would have been going.
Well, yeah, I do too. I think you're absolutely correct because his motivation definitely was not to leave Malfunction completely.
Right.
He got busy with Mother Love Bone, and then he ended up, having the unfortunate circumstances that caused his demise. But other than that, I mean, it was clear. It was just clear as anything. It was clear as a bell that his true calling was the Malfunction, and that was where he shined. His creativity was more prevalent. It was more unique. It was truly who he was, even though he got tired of being the Landrew character.
Yeah, I get that. I could see that.
Not having to do that all the time, and he never had to.
Right.
Something that he felt he had to do. And I think he liked the freedom of not doing that with Mother Love Bone. But at the same time, he could have done it with Malfunction. Nobody would have cared because he was still the same guy and still, entertaining and creative and,
I mean, but him on an emotional level, though, man. Do you feel like, and again, because I alluded to earlier that the press was really seemed like they were going to hone in on him and have him, whether they wanted to or not, he was unwillingly going to become the star of that band as far as rock journalism were concerned. Do you think that could have been something that was weighing on him and adding a pressure to him and, adding that, tumultuous aspect to his life?
No, I think he enjoyed the spotlight to a degree where he thrived on it.
Good. I hope he was enjoying it, man, and that wasn't the reason.
Yeah, I think he had other problems. The relationship problems he was having with his girlfriend.
Yeah.
And I can totally relate. I mean, it was like the biggest deal in his life when, that would go on the rocks and they would fight and he'd have problems. And, the personal things. I think that the fact that he left Regan and I high and dry would probably weigh on him quite a bit as far as, feeling kind of guilty. Survivor's guilt, maybe. I don't know.
What do you think it was? He just got with the Mother Love Bone guys and they just started writing some great songs and it just got intoxicating?
Well, I think he got tired of Malfunction. We were not as professional as Green River. Green River was what it all came out of for them.
Yeah.
And they were like, sort of like, I don't know, really focused.
Yeah.
We were more freeform. We were not as polished. We were definitely working hard at it and doing.
Punk rock is definitely about being kind of loose and kind of fucking gnarly a little bit, though, too. You know what I mean? You guys are playing with like a looseness that speaks of punk rock.
Yeah, exactly. And that's something that we cultivated actually because we wanted to be that way.
Yeah.
I remember it was like for me, I remember thinking, I want to sound like I'm just about to completely fall apart, where the music is just like barely
Yeah.
there, you know, like some of that old school guitar playing that you would hear that's gone. You don't hear that anymore. Everything's so polished and perfect now.
I love that point. I love that point. Yeah, because I think that's what I think that's what you guys were in the beginning, man. You certainly were like a little sloppy, but in an amazingly creative and captivating, manner. And you're right. We've gotten used to that in this day and age, man. Everything, that's why people, when they go to concerts and they see live concerts, bands are feeling compelled to use these backing tracks and tricks and stuff. I mean, everybody's there with a phone scrutinizing your performance and trying to, bash you if you don't have the chops that you had 30 years ago. I mean, it's brutal for an artist,
Yeah, it is. And, with the backing tracks and everything too, I think, touring can be so expensive that if you can put half your band on a backing track, there's less mouths to feed, there's less overhead. And I can understand that. And for a lot of, struggling touring bands, that's kind of the way it is. It's unfortunate. To tell you the truth, if I had the option of playing with a backing track, I wouldn't do it. I would say, okay, this is the live version. It's like Led Zeppelin, when you listen to old Led Zeppelin bootlegs, right?
Right. You're right.
It's like, okay, this is stripped down. This is sloppy. This is like what we sound like tonight. And there you go. But still, it's fucking Led Zeppelin.
Yeah.
And, you're privileged to be here. This is like a high point of your life,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
They didn't sound like the record. They still sounded good enough. And you're in the same room with them.
Yeah. Well, it does seem like everybody's hypercritical now. People are pulling out their phones, and it's not just to get a video or a snippet because they love the song or whatever. People are going home and going on YouTube and bashing artists and calling them out and trying to say they're not playing their instruments or this and that. And whether they are or they aren't, it's a lazy comparison to say that someone should be able to do the same job at something that they did 30 years ago. People age,
Yeah, they do. Although I can say that I'm playing better now than I ever have. And,
I think the focus is more vocalist. I think vocalists get hammered a lot.
Yeah. I think that definitely is something that wears out,
Yeah.
The vocal cords, the range especially.
Yeah.
That can happen. Although I did see that guy, who is he? Frankie Valli.
Oh my God, he looks like he barely moves his lips.
He's like 90 years old.
He looks like he barely moves his lips. You see him, man, and so someone's had a funny meme up going around saying, here's how much energy I give on Monday morning at work. Because he just comes out and he's just like, lips barely move, but yet this booming sound is coming out, man. But, I mean, God love him, man. He's a legend and all, man, but there's no life in the show at all.
Well, yeah, that's the thing, but is that backing tracks? Is he really doing it? And if he is, I'd say, hey, that's pretty goddamn amazing. 90-year-old guy.
It has to be backing tracks, right?
I don't know. I saw him live, and I wasn't convinced it was backing tracks.
You weren't sure, yeah.
It was just pretty goddamn perfect. But, it wasn't the same as the record. Exactly.
It's so funny. Remember back in the 80s, man, they took a Grammy away from Milli Vanilli. And nowadays, that would be widely accepted, man. Nobody would have a problem if Milli Vanilli was doing that nowadays.
Oh, hell no. They wouldn't even mention it.
Yeah. It would probably be critically acclaimed, and it would be like this amazing project. Isn't this great how these people sing and these two beautiful guys out here are dancing and putting the show on or whatever? It'd be widely accepted.
Yeah. Well, like Jethro Tull, like Ian Anderson, right? He can't sing for beans anymore.
Yeah.
And but I went and I've seen him twice.
Yeah.
And the first time I saw him, he had like this big screen projection behind him, and basically the people on the screen were doing most of the singing.
Right.
But the musicianship of the band, the songs, everything was just spine tingling. And then I saw him touring with Jethro Tull, and still he's like not singing very well at all, but he's not using backing tracks. And but still, the sound, you appreciate being in the room with the guy, and the songs are kick-ass. The band is phenomenal.
Yeah.
So what can you say? I mean,
although 1988, I will say they didn't deserve to win the Best Metal Grammy over Metallica, though.
Well, yeah, I agree.
That was a travesty of justice right there. I mean, and first of all, it's not even bashing Jethro Tull. First of all, man, you shouldn't even be throwing them into that mix and into that category, man. I wouldn't call what Jethro Tull does metal.
No, I never would have ever thought of them as metal. Ever.
Yeah. But that was such a shoe-in, man, because if you remember, man, like Metallica had just made a video for the one, the one video, and up to that point, they really had no radio, no video. And then they played the Grammys that night, and they played one, and they fucking threw down. I mean, it's on YouTube. It's an amazing performance. And then they went side stage because Alice Cooper and Lita Ford came up to give the metal Grammy, and they waited right in the wings because everybody thought it's a shoo-in. Metallica just put out Injustice for All. Nobody in the metal world is better than these guys right now. Nope, Jethro Tull got it.
I know, and that just
crazy.
To show you how screwed up the whole thing is, man.
I remember watching the Grammys. I never watched the Grammys, but we were like 14, 15, and like Metallica was like, felt like our band. And we're thinking, wow, we're going to get to see a metal band like Metallica win a Grammy, a thrash metal band, essentially,
Yeah. I'm right there with you. I never really paid too much attention to the Grammys at all because it's like, you never see metal. I mean, I'm a metalhead.
Yeah.
And,
nobody we ever liked fucking wins anything, hardly.
Yeah. You never even mentioned. It's always something else. Good artists, don't get me wrong. I mean, I respect these people, but yeah, it's not my kind of entertainment.
It's the same with the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, man. Like I don't know just how much. Yes, I'm sure if it gets presented to an artist, man, I think they're honored, man. But I also think artists are kind of indifferent to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and I think they do think it's a little pretentious and a little hoity-toity bullshit. You know what I mean? Like, and it kind of is.
Yeah, it's bullshit. I mean, it's just ridiculous. I mean, you have bands that should be in there that aren't.
And then you have hip hop artists in there, man. I mean, who haven't even had, even a half of the career that these rock and roll artists have had.
Yeah. I think Dolly Parton's even in there or something like. I mean, people like not even rock and rollers are in there, and it's a sham. It's just I don't know.
Well, the hip hop world has done quite well, man. I'm not impugning hip hop, man. I'm just saying hip hop has earned its right to have its own Hall of Fame. I stand on that because there's been a lot of amazing hip hop artists. You could easily make a Hall of Fame and be putting new rappers in all the time.
Oh yeah. I agree.
Hip hop's been legendary. Hip hop's been legendary.
Oh yeah, it's huge, and it's remarkable actually. And I have nothing bad to say about hip hop or anything.
No.
It's just not my cup of tea as far as what I like to listen to.
Well, when you are listening to music, man, like what are your trends like, man? Like do you tend to be the old curmudgeon like I was for a while and you kind of fall back on your old standards and listen to shit? Or can you find new music that gets you excited? Do you try to explore and find any new shit?
I explore all the time looking for new shit. And, like type in doom metal. Yeah. At Bandcamp and go through everything, and there's a lot of stuff out there that you just discover. Like,
is that your thing? Is that your thing mostly? Doom metal?
Yeah, I love doom. I was into technical death metal there for a while, and I go through phases. I'm in a doom phase now, and
so what did you think, man? Because you were going through a technical death metal phase, man. But what did you think about Blood Incantations album that was released this year?
It's just mind blowing. I mean,
crazy. I just had the guitar player on the other day. I just posted the episode, man. Brilliant, man. And the concept behind it, man, and those tablets, the songs broken up into really thinking outside the box, bringing psychedelic. I never thought you'd hear those words annexed together, man. Psychedelic death metal. Incredible, man.
Yeah. And Allegiant, I was heavily into them for a few months. I mean, I get into a phase where I'll listen to a band constantly.
Yeah.
And I was listening to their catalog over and over and over and learning the lyrics, finding the tabs and stuff and trying to figure out, what these guys are doing because they're like brilliant guitar players and the band itself is just amazing.
Well, I think a lot of people might not know that about you, man, but you are, I mean, from a lot of the videos that I see, man, your guitar playing is pretty fast and pretty heavy, man.
Oh yeah. That's the thing with the Malfunksshun thing. When you listen to like Back from Olympus, you hear the songs going, and then when I take a solo, I'm playing like a thrash. Because that's basically all I listen to. Like,
I've got the whole pack down there, man. I've got the whole thing, man. Like I ordered it when it's a really nice. It's got the movie in there, and it's got a bunch of discs, man. It's really well presented, man. Of all Malfunksshun stuff, unreleased Malfunksshun stuff. It's really like a nice set. Andy's on the cover of it, and it is obviously the focal point of it is the documentary. Who did the documentary again? What was that guy's name?
Scott Barber.
Great job. That's right. Scott Barber. He did an amazing job. He did an amazing job. That's a great documentary, man. I've watched a lot of music documentaries, man. That one is exceptional.
Yeah, it really is. But like I say, you know, we want to update it. We want a new version, you know, something that's not as focused on the drugs and the tragedy. You know, I think the story of Malfunction itself is compelling and so rich. I mean, I went through some treatments. I put together some treatments and cataloging the entire history of the experience, including, you know, like what happened afterwards. And I'll tell you what, it's a pretty goddamn cool story. And it's the story that documentary doesn't really talk too much about, you know, because that journey, that Malfunction journey, which in a way keeps going on. I mean, you know, but still the heyday of it and the creation of it and the way that the brothers came together, worked at it. And we brought in Regan. And we just really sort of blazed new trails in the Seattle scene, which, you know, people still talk about.
Well, I like that his name gets kept alive, man, because, you know, certainly history is trying to keep alive the names of the Kurt Cobains and the Chris Cornells of the world. And, you know, he should be on that list, man. I mean, it's such great frontmen came out of that scene, man. It's crazy. I mean, all the other people, amazing players, man. But just the frontmen alone that came out of there are incredible, man. Eddie and Chris and Lane and Mark Lanigan. I mean, and Kurt. I mean, incredible.
Oh, I know. It's just
Mark Arm. I mean, even guys you don't think about, you know what I mean? Like from bands that didn't get big. See, I really like a lot of the Seattle bands. Like when I think of like the Mount Rushmore or the Seattle Big Four, I think of Pearl Jam, Soundgarden, Alice in Chains, and Nirvana. You know what I mean? But you forget about the Mudhoney's and the Screaming Trees and you know, there's a lot of great, the Melvins. You know, there's a lot of great bands there. A lot of great bands.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I look at the Melvins. Geez, talk about a long career and a prolific career.
Still crushing it. Still crushing it. Still out there doing
it. Mentioned in the same conversations for some reason, you know.
What's the music scene like around you right now, man? Do you get out much as a fan and go see live music, or is there not too much happening in your neck of the woods?
I see plenty. I mean, I live probably an hour from San Francisco.
Okay.
So, you know, good big shows are just, you know, an hour away. And sometimes we get a band coming through town that I'll go see. I've seen some pretty awesome shows here, you know.
Yeah.
But otherwise, it's not, you know, when you talk about scenes, rock towns, right? Seattle is a rock town, or it was. I haven't lived there in
without a doubt.
Years now, but this is not a rock town. I mean, there's rock here, and I play out here sometimes. I've got a group that I play with here, but it's not the same. It's not the same where, you know, in Seattle, you could bring your amp into a bar. You get a gig in a bar, you bring your Marshall in and you dime the fucker, and there's people are still sitting there at the bar drinking their beers, and it's like nobody tells you to turn the fuck down.
Right.
You know?
Right. Here I am. I'm here. The entertainment's here.
And that was the fun thing about Seattle, man, because you could just go do that and people expected it.
Well, that's what they said in the documentary, man. Like Mike McCready and those guys would be like, you'd go into a place and there'd be like 5 people in the front, man, but like Andy be playing it like it was a fucking stadium. You know what I mean? Like,
well, he was always on. Now he was always on. Even when we were rehearsing, he would practice his banter and his, you know, his shtick.
Well, people don't realize, man, that is a lot of it, though, man. Like when you said, like, say, for instance, when you watch like pro wrestling, you know what I mean? You don't really care how technically great these guys are, man. They're entertainers at the end of the day, man. You know what I mean? Like their gimmick is what stays with you. You know what I mean? Like, you know, certainly that's got to be part of it if you want to be a great front man. You've got to have some type of a shtick that you're holding to, a persona.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, you've seen it countless times where a band will have an amazing you know, front man, or maybe everybody in the van, or the band itself is visually appealing in some way, and when you're watching them you're entertained. But if you didn't see it and you were just listening to it, you go, oh man, they're really barely holding it together, you know. But it doesn't matter, because you're in the room with them and they're just rocking their asses off and they're putting on a show, and there you go.
And so what's the current lineup? Because the last one here, you know, I'll run it by you, man. Maybe you could shout out these guys and if they're playing with you. The last lineup that's on the website is you, Tony West, a guy named Frank, and a guy named Miles Freeborn.
Oh, those guys. Yeah, that's a long time ago.
Okay.
Yeah, I need to update that.
Okay.
Currently, they're no longer members of the group, although they could, come back at some point if if need be. I mean, they're part of the ongoing circle of friends and associates. But yeah, right now there's no lineup. I do like that you never felt compelled to run out and just find like an Andy clone, though. You know what I mean? Like, that's fucking commendable, man, because like there can be a lot of pressure to do that. You know what I mean? Try to find somebody Andy like, Yeah, that would just not work. I think they'd be impossible to find. There's a guy that does Andy, like a guy in Seattle who does an Andy thing, right? And he sounds just like him, but he's like, I don't know, 6 inches taller than he was.
And he does a tribute band for Mother Love Bone?
Yeah, and he does Andy, and he does it really well. But yeah, that would be tacky. That would be like, come on, what are you trying to do? It's just, you just can't go there,
Yeah, you got to have somebody that's, having a clone, it just does not work. I almost like the fact that you go with somebody like a Tony West, dark hair, a guy that doesn't really, certainly got a lot of the charisma that Andy has, man, but a different guy at the end of the day,
Yeah. And then the guy that after Tony, Jeff Stark, he's got a new career right now in a metal band. He's like doing festivals and stuff. An amazing singer, a really good guy. Didn't sound at all like Andy, but he was, a qualified vocalist.
So at the end of the day, it's never say never. You're always looking to revive and keep Malfunction going, man. But do you think of any music like on the side? Like, are you somebody that would say, "Hey, I'll join somebody else's band, or I'll put some stuff out solo"? Or is Malfunction the total focus?
Well, I think I just default to Malfunction because I've been always kind of a guy that does his own thing. I actually would enjoy being in another band. I was in a band last year. We were doing the Steely Dan covers and some classic rock stuff, and then that's we started doing some mid-90s R&B.
Yeah,
well, I'm all about playing and having a good time, but my own stuff, I think it ends up being Malfunction because I've been writing that kind of stuff forever.
Right, what
what I do, although I do like playing other people's music, and the guys I'm playing with right now, I think I've only got 2 of songs in the set list with these guys, and I'm more than happy to play their material, and it's just, it's all good.
So do you think all the stuff that Andy did and written, and probably you would know this, all the Malfunction stuff has seen the light of day? It's all out there somewhere, man? Or is there stuff that you still have of Malfunction that the world has not heard?
I've got tons of stuff. And I think the success we had with the Southern Lord release is a reason why, we've got kind of a treasure trove here of some stuff that nobody's heard, and let's put it out.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. So if people want to find out what's going on, man, like where's the best? I mean, obviously nowadays everyone's out there on the social medias promoting somewhere, man. Where's the best place to stay tapped in with you, Malfunction, whatever?
I guess it's social media, but I've been really lax about social media these days. I just sort of much interest in it,
It's unfortunate though, man, because when you're trying to promote shit though, man, it is almost a necessary tool. But I get it, man. Sometimes I just want to just take the phone and just fucking throw it down a fucking well.
Yeah, exactly. I just get fed up with it because I'll look at Facebook and I'll just get pissed off, and or I'll go on Instagram and I'll just go almost like I don't want to see another.
Yeah.
I don't want to see another bimbo. I don't want to see another.
Somebody's meal.
5-year-old kid shredding like a motherfucker, right?
Yeah.
So I just get tired of that shit, and so I've been leaving it high and dry. I think if there's a
Malfunction has a website, don't they?
Yeah, but malfunction.org actually, and it forwards to the Bandcamp site.
Yeah,
with where's the releases are going to be, where you can download copies of them, and then other stuff's going to streaming, which type that into your Spotify thing, everything will come up. But
And so what would you say conservatively, man, just to wet people's whistle kind of, man, that are Malfunction fans, man, how much, if you had to guess, ballpark, how much unreleased Malfunction stuff do you think you're sitting on in terms of hours or in terms of songs?
Well, I'm looking over here at this plastic or this cardboard box sitting on a plastic box with cassette tapes that are like, I've probably got a month's worth of, I mean, it's just uncountable at this point. I've got a pile of cassettes over here that sitting by this tape deck that I've been meaning to encode. It's insurmountable amount of magnetic tape that I have here.
You would say hundreds of hours.
Hundreds.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. And your wish, obviously, and that obviously honor Andy's legacy, is eventually for all this Malfunction music to be released. It will all come out.
Yes, actually, that would be that's the ultimate goal. And I think that this release that we had with Southern Lords is like a great jumping off point. It proves that there's a demand for it.
Yeah.
And it proves that it can be done.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, it's good that it will all see the light of day. It deserves to be, man. You know what I mean? And it helps propel, the legacy along.
Yeah, actually it does. And it's all good.
Yeah. I love talking to you, man. I could sit here and shoot the shit with you all night, man. You've given me over an hour, man. I really appreciate it, man. I love talking to you, man. You're one of my favorite guests, man. One of my favorite people, man. I appreciate you doing it, man. Stay in touch. We'll do it again at some point.
Yeah. Anytime, man. I'm happy to contribute, and I enjoy your company. So yeah.
Thank you, man. I love talking to you, man. And we're always in touch, man. Drop me a line anytime, man. But we'll definitely do this again for sure.
Yeah, you got it, man. Anytime.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate you, man. Thank you. Have a good one, brother.
You too. Bye.
Later. There he goes, folks. The legendary Kevin Wood, a Seattle stalwart in that scene for many, many years. Malfunction, the earliest incarnation of where we saw the great frontman Andrew Wood, Landrew, Andy, whatever you want to call him, man. Captain High Top, man of golden words, whatever you want to call him, man. The Stargazer gave us a lot of great songs, man. The Half-Assed Monkey Boy. I'll throw that one in there too. Seriously, man. Do your homework, man. Fucking Malfunction is a great band. There's a great documentary about the late, great Andrew Wood. The one that I bought particularly offline, not only came with the movie, but lots of Malfunction rarities and gems. It was absolutely great. But Andy, unfortunately, passed at a young age, and we didn't get a lot of music from him once he got into Mother Love Bone, but he left us behind stuff with Malfunction and his brother and Reagan Hagar, an amazing band. And then, of course, he did subsequently go on to be in Mother Love Bone with the guys that ultimately ended up becoming in Pearl Jam, Jeff and Stone. And that music is great, too. Holy shit. Mother Love Bone, I would put up against any of those Seattle bands. And I know that's high praise, man, but the songwriting was every bit as phenomenal, on par with the Nirvanas and the Alice in Chains and the Soundgardens and all the bands that got to be extremely huge. Mother Love Bone was, I would actually say Mother Love Bone was on the cusp and beginning to get huge even before all of those aforementioned bands. Mother Love Bone was right there. I think this had to be 89, 90. The grunge scene hadn't even exploded yet. So Mother Love Bone was at the forefront, and they certainly weren't grunge, as we allude to in the conversation. No flannels, no angst, no, dark themes and downtrodden music, man. Andy was a showman, man. Think David Lee Roth, the Seattle version. Flamboyant, extravagant, loud, boisterous, but in a great and humble way. But every bit of a great showman, man. I think in the documentary, he talks about him loving Elton John early on, and the costumes and the all the the flair and the pomp and the So awesome. And Kevin, an amazing guitar player, man. Malfunction, I would say, yeah, I would agree with him, man. It was punk rock for sure. It was loose, gnarly, a little sloppy, man, heavy. Andy's up there fronting this band and playing bass. Kevin, amazing and crazy wild on the guitar, man. So go check out some of that stuff. Do your music homework and check out Mother Love Bone if you don't already know Mother Love Bone. That's my tip for you right there. Go check out Malfunction, not spelled like how you would spell it. Funk in the middle. M-A-L. I'm going to spell it for you people. Get out your paper and your pen. MALFUNKSHUN. I don't have to respell it because you guys can go back and play that again. Malfunction, and of course, Mother Love Bone. I mean, fucking an amazing band, man. Keep the legacy of Andy Wood alive because he was truly one of those like flashes of brilliance that we get that only come along once in a lifetime, man. A unique talent, man, like no other. And always love having Kevin on. Have had Kevin on before, man. Great guest. Great to get his insights. A guy that was playing in that fucking that early band with Andy, and of course his brother. So the bond there, tremendous. Being a blood relative and creating music on that kind of artistic and emotional level with a guy. Knew him better than anybody, man, and played alongside of him, man, and still keeping the music alive, man. So go check out Malfunction, go check out Mother Love Bone, and make sure to stay tapped in right here by liking, subscribing, and hit the notification bell on this channel. Stay tapped in where the cool kids come to chop it up with your boy Rexx Ruger. And like I always say when I end these things, remember, folks, to take it easy and keep it sleazy.